Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Casual Chats. This is the show where we highlight and introduce other business professionals who are exemplifying what does it look like to be exceptionally irresistible in their personal, in their professional life. All about this is a show where we are super excited to introduce guests like Tracy, who is beyond incredible. I was so lucky to meet her by mistake. And there's no mistakes in this world, but I'm so grateful for meeting a person like Tracy. Hello, Tracy.
Hey, Jeremy, I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so grateful to you that we finally were able to actually match our schedules and everything and actually get you on here. I was super committed to get you on because the audience just simply has to get a bit of that energy from you. So, without further ado, I'm going to read your bio, but I really want to highlight you in just a bit. So, ladies and gentlemen, check this lady out. She's super cool. Tracy Borreson is all about supporting people in creating authentic human experiences. I could vouch for that firsthand, specifically through the power of community. With 15 years of experience in corporate marketing as an employee and a leader, Tracy helps leaders create authentic spaces for their teams, companies. Um, where is it? Companies bring their. I just lost my space. That's how good. That's how excited I'm getting. Okay.
It's so authentic of you, Jeremy.
See there we go. You see that? Let me restart that. Tracy helps leaders create authentic spaces for their teams, companies, bring their authentic brand voice to life for clients and employees. And entrepreneurs bring a business based in who they authentically are through building amazing human experiences for every part of their community. So, Tracy, I got to tell you, I got excited reading your bio because it kind of like reads similar to the kind of community that we're trying to build here. And it's kind of like my brain like skipped a beat and there's like, I would have written this like that. And I was like, no, 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 this is Tracy's time here. So, Tracy, what is something about you that you'd love to share to the world? You know, this is your platform to shine. So please remove all, tell us who you are and shine away.
Well, if you guys were listening to the bio, you probably heard the word authentic a whole bunch of times.
Mhm.
um, and I have a love-hate relationship with the word authentic because it's become really overused in the past probably 2 years on LinkedIn specifically. But for me, authenticity is really just about being who you are in the moment and finding the ways that you shine most brightly, which is why I love the show, because it's about giving people their opportunity to shine. And there's not one way to shine. There's lots of different ways to shine. In fact, every single human on the face of the planet has a unique way of shining, and being able to embrace that about yourself and do that in a space of people that also embrace that about you in those times where you're feeling like you're not sparkling quite so brightly today.
Yeah.
Being around people who like see your sparkle even in those hard times, it really helps your sparkle come back. And so whether that is in like a corporate working environment or in the capacity as a leader or in the capacity as a parent or in the capacity of just a individual human being, there's so much complexity to every individual person, and there's so much beauty in that. And I think there's too much narrative in the world about us being the same, trying to fit us into boxes, and we should be this and we should do that, and we should all want to be lawyers and doctors, and then we should all want to be parents, and then we should all want to be homeowners, and then we should. And then pretty soon we get to the point where like we don't even know what we want to do anymore because we've been overwhelmed by everybody else's shoulds. And when we can peel all that away and start to realize again who we are and our sparkle, and I think about our personal brands as if they're little tiny flames. And when you have a whole bunch of little tiny fires that come together in a community, you don't just have a bunch of tiny fires anymore. You have a giant bonfire. And then you can't help but see the light, right? So that's what that's what having a community around you does. And being in a business work environment, that can be a community. You can have an online community. You can have an in-person community at your church. You can have communities everywhere, only if you have the intention of creating community and giving people that opportunity to let their spark shine.
Love that. And I just like all the whole part of that community and that spark and everything. And it's just incredible. And I don't know. I mean, it's rare to kind of, like you said, that it's hard to see that even on LinkedIn. And you're right, that word authenticity is being used, hyper used. And it's like, what does authenticity mean anymore? Even on LinkedIn, it's kind of like,
And people get it confused with, I want to show people what they want to see.
Yeah.
Okay. That's just for all of you watching, not authenticity. Okay. That's right. Marketing. And they can work together, but they aren't inherently the same thing. And so this is one of my favorite things, actually, because when people talk about showing up in terms of marketing or sales capacities, people talk a lot about consistency, right? And they're like, you want to show up consistently. Authenticity by nature is inconsistent because we have so many different pieces, so many different dimensions to us. So me showing up in grief is different than me showing up in joy and energy, and me showing up in desperation shows up in like differently, right? And when we embrace our entire human experience, we have these different aspects of our lives. And so authenticity, real authenticity, is about showing up as you are right in this moment, right? If I had come in and done this interview a week ago, I probably would have shown up a little bit differently. If I came a week later, I probably would have shown up a little bit differently. In an overarching sense, you're going to get the same vibe and feeling that you would, but it's not about being a robot. It's not about being so consistent that we're saying the exact same words all the time. We're meeting the exact same people all the time. We're thinking the exact same thoughts all the time. That's not what authenticity is. Authenticity is show up as you are today and celebrate that about yourself.
Right. And, you know, I want to highlight that so much because it's such an important message, and it really, really talks to, you know, who you are and why everything that you're doing is so incredible. You know, when I joined this sort of networking event that you had, you know, I was highly recommended to join this networking event. And, you know, I felt very out of place in the beginning, but it didn't take, I don't know, 5 minutes for me to start feeling very comfortable in this environment that you really created with true authenticity. And if I may, with your permission, share an experience that I experienced in the last event that I was at, where somebody got this kind of like dream job, and she was sharing about it, and everybody was so excited for her, and they were all celebrating her. And I think even at one point where she got like a little bit emotional and she kind of started like weeping a little bit, and the entire room was just there to be there for her. And I've never experienced, I mean, I've experienced a little bit face-to-face, that kind of stuff, but not on a Zoom call, not on like somebody who is like, I don't know how many miles away from me, and I just like, I walked away from that event, and I was like, that right there is Tracy and Tara. For the audience who doesn't know, Tara is Tracy's partner. They created this, and that is true authenticity. When you're able to be emotionally vulnerable in such an environment where, and you don't have to worry about how do I look? Do I look bad? Do I look? It really speaks volumes to what you just said. It's just 1,000,000% true. And I had to share this story because like the minute you said that, I was like, that's Tracy.
Well, and it's just so amazing because I think what we forget well, I mean, we're not really taught this, right? So maybe we didn't even really know it, but there's a lot of people that are cheering for you, right? And we get this idea that we need to be independent and we have to accomplish our own things. And I was heavily, heavily independent from the time I was probably about 6 years old. When I was 6, I told my parents that I had to move out and find a man. That's a topic for a different day. By the time I was 10. Right? And like, because I was so fiercely independent, I was going to take care of myself and I was going to make my own money. And I've like, when I bought my own house, I bought it myself, right? Like there's lots of things that has done on a positive front for me. But for a long time, I forgot that there were other people there who just want to celebrate you. And when we're actively looking for the need to be independent, we can find it. And we can also look for the support of our community and actively find it. So it's really interesting just to look at like, ask yourselves the question, right? Everyone who's watching, what are you looking for? Are you looking for proof that being independent is necessary? Are you looking for proof that you can thrive more in a community? It's just really interesting. It's like, I call it the Dodge Caravan phenomenon, where like I was driving with my husband and I was like, they say that Dodge Caravans are still the number one van people buy. And like, I never see any on the road. I'm going to count how many Dodge Caravans I see. And then I stopped counting at 37 because I was like, okay, maybe they're right. And it's because I wasn't looking for Dodge Caravans before. And then as soon as I was looking for them, there they were. And so it's interesting just to explore, like, what are we looking for in terms of that support for ourselves? And when we look for it, there's probably people there who are ready to celebrate you. And one of the other things I'll just note about celebration is that most people don't do a good job of celebrating themselves, right? Again, since we're little, we've been taught to be humble and all of these things, and we get very good at that. And then we don't celebrate any of our accomplishments in life. And we're accomplishing things all the time. Sometimes an accomplishment is, I got up today, right? Yeah, right. Sometimes I always give myself a pat on the back when I put the laundry in the washer and put it in the dryer the same day. Yes, because I don't always do that, right? And you're like, well, we could just be like mad at ourselves because we let the laundry sit in the washing machine all day. And is that preferable? No. But is it the worst thing? No. Celebrate. I did this today, right? Yeah. And celebrating ourselves actually takes practice. And so being around those people who are at least as excited as you and probably more excited as you than you are to celebrate your wins is just like such a helpful space to practice that celebration of ourselves, which is critical in owning your personal brand and actually finding ways to be authentic.
Absolutely. So like what we're hearing is like so much of that authenticity, so much of that part of that independence, but also that community, celebration, right? There's just so much passion and fire coming out of you. I'm like, I think the audience would be very curious to say, if you were able to right now stand on some kind of rooftop, and if there was only one message, one thing that you'd love to yell out to the audience, one takeaway, what is it that you would yell out? Like one thing that you're super passionate about, one key takeaway that somebody could take away from any message you have to share.
Be more you.
Love it.
It's like there's so many other filters that we put on top of ourselves. And at the end of the day, we're the only ones who can do that, right? So sure, our families might have done that. We might have cultures that have done that. We might have had work environments that have done that. There's lots of different spaces that put filters on us. And at the end of the day, we get to decide if we keep the filter or we get rid of the filter. And that doesn't mean like, when I talk about filters, I always think about like using profanity, right? And lots of people like to do that. I don't. I also have a 4-year-old at home, and I would prefer him not to in front of his grandma. But that's a preference that I have. It's not that like I judge anybody else for their use or people shouldn't do that. It's just not a thing for me. I get to decide if that's something I want to do or if that's something I don't want to do. And until, again, you would think that when it comes to personal brands, just showing up as the authentic you, it would be the easiest thing to do. But most of the time we've forgotten what we would actually do. I don't actually know what I would do. And so I have to try things on. And sometimes you try things on that don't fit you. And then you're like, oh, I'm going to always wear pink because you should have like a standout color. Should. Did you hear the should in there? I don't like shoulds, you guys. You decide. You decide what you want to do. If I think you should do a thing, I try very hard only to use the word should when I'm trying to show people that you should not listen to that. There's nothing you should do. You're the only person who knows what's right for you. And the thing about shoulds is that sometimes you don't know that that's not what you would do until you do it. And then you're like, oh, that's not what I would do. And you might not know what you would do instead, but you know that it's not that. And when we think we have to show up in a way that feels yucky or inauthentic or disingenuine or whatever words you wanted to use. Some people don't like authenticity. I've probably said it like 100 times already in this 16 minutes. But if it feels wrong for you, you're not going to want to do it more. Right? This is basic human logic, right? If it feels bad, we don't want to do it. We want to run away or do nothing or something else, but we don't want to do that. And we often stop exploring at like, I don't want to do that. But when you can think, look into it, just question yourself a little bit more. Like, what? Okay, that feels wrong for me. Fine. You can just stop it now based on the feeling. But what is making me feel bad about that? For me, it almost always, again, why I use the word authentic all the time, the words that happen to come up in my head are like, it feels inauthentic. And I don't believe in being inauthentic. I believe in being authentic. I believe that if I'm sad, I should cry. Well, crying is my way that I express sadness. Everybody has their own way of expressing sadness. For me, it's crying. I believe for me, if I'm sad, I should cry. And I practice that, which might seem weird, practice crying, but I do. It creates space for me to feel sadness, to cry, and then I can move on and do other things. That thing, is it a desired emotion? Maybe not, but it's also authentic. Right? And so there's all of this just, I don't know, like shiny version of what authentic is supposed to be. And authentic is not shiny. Authentic is real. Real is sometimes shiny, but real is sometimes me going to the grocery store. And am I going to post that on social media? No, but that's just part of my day, right? Yeah. And I can be authentic with my son at the grocery store. And that looks different than me being authentic with Yermi on an interview. And so I don't know, maybe I'm confusing people, but at the end of the day, the point is that this isn't constant, that we are humans. We are in constant flux as humans in terms of our thoughts and our emotions, which means our authenticity looks different at any given moment. And when we can give ourselves the permission to allow that to be true, which is just true. So if you're trying to fight it, I wouldn't recommend it. It's just really hard. Give ourselves permission for that to be true. And if you don't feel like posting on social media today because you're having a hard day, then don't do it. You're not going to break the algorithm. Okay. Any traction you built. This is really interesting because I was off social media for about a week earlier in the spring because my aunt passed away and I didn't want to be on social media. So I didn't. And people were asking me if I was okay because they noticed they noticed I wasn't there. But when I don't, that's because of all the work I did for a year already in building relationships with people like Yermi, people who I know, even though we've never actually met in person, but that we've had a conversation. Not yet.
Let's get out
We've
there.
built a connection, right? And when you build a connection with people, they wonder if you're okay. This is
Sure.
what people who are community members, like a real community, not a I have a pretend online community over here. Like your peeps, let's call them that. This is what your peeps wonder. They send you text messages because they know that your father-in-law is sick in the hospital. And I got this like really cute ghost hug text message from one of my peeps saying like, a ghost hug. You may not feel it, but it's there.
Right.
And I'm like, this is what, because they're thinking about you. And when they notice you're gone, it's because they were thinking about you anyway. They weren't thinking about you because you posted on social media every day. They were thinking about you because you created a connection with them as a human. Right. And that's the difference, I think, in most of the Your Business Peeps events versus other quote unquote networking events, is that the point of them is for you to feel a connection to another human, whether that's in a job win or a client struggle or in a, I don't know, personal family issue, right? It's for you to create caring between humans. And if your networking and your connection, air quotes connection, aren't doing that, then you're not really connecting with people. And you can use social media to connect with people, but again, only if you have the intention to do so.
I love that. And like, there's so much that just the golden nuggets that you just threw at us.
I say a lot. I just
no. I mean, that's beautiful.
And then I can't stop.
Thank you so much for that. I mean, I think the audience is just getting like so much value here, and that's what this show is all about. And it is so evident how you shine and so many, like, you, when you show up, I mean, Tracy is in the room, you know it. Like, that's for certain. And I think like my greatest takeaway from what I just learned in, the past 20 minutes is that, the expression like never say never. So something along those lines, like the only thing you should ever do is create your own shoulds, like that's the only thing you should ever do. Don't follow shoulds. Like there's actually one thing, like I promised you an article. I have my series of like business questions, and one of the things that you and I were speaking a lot about is transactional networking versus transformational networking, which somebody actually educated me and called it relationship. And my mouth is gone. Relationship building networking. And they're all tied in. And like, you beat me to it. You wrote that article way faster than I could ever get to my own article. And I sort of like kind of promised to write an article alongside yours. And I've just been really busy for the past couple of months. I've been on the road a lot. There's just a lot going on. And I'm there beating myself up because I should write that article. And then I'm like, no, I should be providing for my family. So part of that is getting on the road and going to, all the conferences that I'm going to and whatever. And like, if I get around to the article, I'll get around to it when I get around to it. And it's going to be the same good article that I should be writing at some point,
equally valuable. And this is the thing, right? Like, and even if you're creating your own shoulds, just look at them from that perspective. Like, I should write this article. I should write this because Tracy wrote hers, right? Like,
right.
That's not a good reason.
No, exactly.
Right? You're still going to add that value. And there's so much pressure that we put on. I should post every day. I should attend 40 conferences a year. I won't make my quota. I should. Most of the time, those shoulds have a root in no actual facts.
Right.
And so once we kind of look at that and we're like, oh, why do I think I should? This was one that happened to me. I was working with a coach and I was having this thing and I was like, I should make this automated email funnel because I manually write. For any of you who are on my email list, I manually write that every single time.
Wow.
I send it to you. And so I was like, I should have this automated because that would be easier. And I fought with this. And I just I couldn't get to the point where I automated it. And like, I was talking to her about it and I was like, I just don't want to do it. And she was like, well, then why are you doing it? It was like, good point.
Yeah.
And for me, it was because if I schedule things in advance, they don't feel authentic to me anymore. And that doesn't work for me, right? And that doesn't mean it's wrong if other people pre-schedule stuff, right? Like if it works for you, it works for you. It doesn't work for me. So me trying to like squish my business and my being into this template because someone else said it's a good template, right? Like it's fine. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the template. It's just not right for me. And once you get a couple of those, it's not right for me under your belt, and you stop thinking that there's something wrong with you, then there's so much more power to you to say like, hey, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to write a blog post most weeks. Sometimes I write a blog post, 2 blog posts in 1 week because I feel specifically inspired. Sometimes I don't write one because I don't have anything I feel like I want to write about.
Right.
And all of this is fine. Some people like to post videos on social media. Some people like to write articles. Some people like to do polls. This is one of my favorite things about LinkedIn is it creates a space where you can do what you want, right? Like here's all the features, choose what you like and just do those, right? It's hard for some people because they're like, oh no, now there's all these features and I should be doing all the things. Did you hear that? Should ask yourself, should you? Who says? Says who?
Right.
0 people. Poll them. You can do a LinkedIn poll if you want. There are 0 people on LinkedIn who use every single one of the LinkedIn features in terms of their marketing or social selling or whatever you're showing up on LinkedIn to do, relationship building. 0 people use all of the features. So you're not supposed to use all of the features. The features are available so you can choose what works for you. And no other reason. It's simple. And try them. Try them. You want to try LinkedIn audio? Great. Try it. You like it. Keep doing it. You don't like it. Stop doing it.
Right. And I'm actually really curious because I would love to see a poll done. And the reason why I would not do the poll myself is because I happen to know how many features LinkedIn has. And like, I just happen to know that by chance, actually. But
okay, so tell us, how many features? How many features? Numbers?
There are so many, but I want to say this first because I'm actually really curious, and I will challenge somebody in the audience. Please tag Tracy and I in the poll because I'm actually really curious to see how many people are actually going to admit that they don't use all the features, because I fully agree with you that 0% use all the features, mostly because they don't even know how many features are actually on LinkedIn, and because you're so right, because people think like, oh my gosh, I have to post. I heard this recently, actually. You should be posting, and he had this whole calculation. X amount of those, how do you call those swipe thingies? Those carousels.
Oh,
you should be posting.
I've never posted a carousel. Fun fact.
Yeah, and apparently the algorithm will appreciate you. And I really just wrote to him the other day, and I was like, well, articles are known to do the worst on LinkedIn. I got 30,000 impressions on one article. So I don't know where you're getting your shoulds from, but you shouldn't post any articles because articles don't do well. Well, seem to do okay for me. So
well, and this is the thing, right? Like the other day, everybody was like, polls don't work anymore. And I had just done a poll because I do polls when I feel like polling people, not because it's part of some kind of algorithm optimization strategy, because I'm curious and I want people to answer my question. I had like 700 something votes on it. And I was like, polls don't work anymore. Hey, maybe what you're polling people on is stupid and they don't want to vote. Right? This is what I said to somebody today. Somebody was like, what's up with these polls? And I was like, I do polls when I'm curious about a thing. And I vote in polls where I'm curious about the outcome. Right? So someone else has created a poll and I'm interested in the outcome of that poll, then I'll vote in it, because then I get
Mm.
notified once the poll is closed and I get to see how
Sure.
people voted, right?
Sure.
Like, I don't just vote in every poll. Who has time for that?
No.
Nobody has time for that. Even like, they finally have, when we're recording this episode, you guys, they finally have a laughing emoji.
I know.
Lots of us have been asking for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I have not used the laughing emoji yet, because I haven't found anything that deserves a laughy response.
Mm.
At some point, I'll find something that deserves a laughy response, but I didn't just go and post laughy responses everywhere because there's a new feature. I will use that when something makes me laugh out loud.
Right.
But other than that, I will continue to use my support hands or my celebrate hands, or I like to try and use more than just like, because like, what do you like about it? But again, that's not a should. Not like you shouldn't use the like. You do what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing about algorithms in general. The overarching goal of the algorithm is for humans to connect and chat with each other. Mm-hmm. So if you're in the comments having a conversation with somebody, if you're in the DMs having a conversation with somebody, did you know that if you're in a DM having a conversation with somebody, it will show that person your content? That's the point, because it's like, oh, these people are chatting. They're chatting about this. I'll show them content that's related to that.
Yep.
It rewards relationships. And so if you're trying to hack it by creating fake relationships, I just don't even understand why people are doing that. Because at the end of the day, no one buys something off of a fake relationship. Nobody agrees to go on your podcast because of a fake relationship, right? Like,
sure.
Real relationships create opportunities, but fake relationships just create fake numbers that people chase and then drive themselves nuts trying to chase these numbers. And you're like, well, who cares if your post only got 100 views? What if all those 100 views are people who are going to buy your $10,000-$20,000 coaching program or consulting program? That sounds perfect to me, actually, because why would you want to mine 10,000 when you already have? You could mine 10,000 for 100, or you could take your 100 and just talk to those people. A lot easier to talk to 100 people than it is to talk to 10,000 people.
So true. So true. And I mean, like, there's one person that I follow, and she's like big on, growth and all these kind of stuff. And she's like, she had this like revelation recently, and she's like, every area of my life is a growing opportunity. It's like, as a parent, as a business owner, as somebody who even just shows up on social media, just look at the interactions. Exactly what you're saying, Tracy, is like, if I'm empty in myself, or if I'm fake, or if people are going to read right through it. They're going at some point, they're maybe not in the beginning, because I'm managing to fake them out pretty well in the beginning, but at some point they're going to read through the BS and they're going to cut through it. And, like my mom used to say, there's only a certain amount of shelf life you have when you're putting on a show, you know what I mean? Like, at some point you're going to burn out. So
it's true.
And
if you're trying to get people to buy a bag of chips or some lip gloss or anything like that, you could probably get through the relationship and buy that. But even then, right, like, do the people who interact with you feel good about it, right? Do they feel, I know I, for one, have bought into coaching programs where I felt totally duped, right? And I was like, I'm not going to recommend this to anybody. I'm going to actually strongly recommend against it to anybody I know who asks me about it, right? Like, is that the experience you want people to have of you? Because that is not the experience I want people to have of me. I want to have raving fans. I want raving fans. I want all of my friends, colleagues, clients, partners, collaborators, all of them to be like, you need to talk to Tracy because she is fun, and she will create energy for you, and she will provide refreshing perspectives on things. That's what I want people to say.
Well, I'm in one. I'm right here. I can speak for myself right here. Raving fan right here.
Thanks, Jeremy. But that's like, I'm not here to sell. I'm not here to market. I'm not here to, like, do I have a coaching program that people can buy? Yeah, I do. It's a solution for people who have a certain problem, who want to fix it a certain way, and I make the solution available to them. And I tell them about it when it's the right solution for them. I actively network in people who also are personal branding coaches, career coaches, executive coaches, leadership coaches, people who focus on kind of what I do in their own arena and let them be good at what they're good at. Because why would I want to fill my book with clients that I hate? That's a
Right.
terrible plan for anybody. Like,
No,
one of the
absolutely.
things I'm happy to not be in corporate anymore, but one of the best things that my last boss said to me is that, like, we don't take bad money. Like, we're not here to just take money. We are here to help people who want to be helped in the way that we help them. And I'm not going to change how I help you, because this is how I believe. I have a very specific way I see personal branding, and it comes with clarity and confidence, and it comes with community. And if you're not interested in being in community, this is part of what I do, and this is how I think it works best. And you can't, I'm saying you, but I'm not speaking specifically to you, you hear me? People can't convince me I'm wrong, right? I've seen it work. And so people who want that will come and buy it from me. And people who want different help should get the help that they need. That's why I, like you, like to feature different people. And I have my conversation series and all these things so people can find the right solution for them. That takes a certain amount of confidence in who you are to say, like, I'm not for everybody. I don't have the right solution. Maybe I don't have the right payment plans. Maybe I don't have the right length of coaching program, whatever it is. This is how I believe what you're trying to do is best accomplished. Based on my experience, I see this to be true. So if you want to dictate something else, I had a client once who tried to, like, dictate to me how I was going to coach him. And I was like, no, that's not how that works. Right? Like, you paid me for my expertise, right? Like, no. And, like, I am nice and supportive, but I'm here to help you do a thing, right? You want to do a thing. Right. I'm also not just about, like, doing the thing to do a thing. Don't just show up on social media so you can say you did a thing, right? No one cares. No one cares that you showed up 5 times this week, right? If you didn't connect with anybody, it doesn't matter. I had this random conversation right before this with a lady in the UK who I connected with because in her tagline, she has real person. And I was like, ooh, I love connecting with real people. We should probably be connected. And then we ended up talking about how she ended up in the UK. And she's originally from Australia, but she met her husband there and she stayed there. And that had a similar thing happen to my best friend who's now in Switzerland, right? And then we talked about how close I am to the mountains and how it must be so nice to be close. Like, this is a real human conversation. And if someone looked at it, they would be like, you guys didn't talk about anything business related. Absolutely not. We didn't talk about anything business related. I don't even know that that's going to go anywhere on a business front. What I know is that I connected with a human. It created more energy for me. So I can come and have conversations like this with lots of energy because I know in my business what creates energy for me. And now she knows me. And if I was interesting enough to have another conversation with her, which I think I was, then maybe we'll talk about business. Or maybe we won't. Maybe we'll talk about kids or the weather or whatever. I think in One Year Business Peeps thing, we talked about tornadoes for like 45 minutes, right? Wow. But now, right? Like Tara Argo, my business partner, she lives in Oklahoma, lots of tornadoes, right? They have a storm cellar. I live in Canada. This is not a thing we have, right? Like, it's an opportunity to learn, like you said, to learn from other people. And that's why I like the concept of transformational networking, is because every opportunity, any conversation we have with another human where we're open-minded gives us the opportunity as an individual to transform.
Sure.
But if we go into it thinking like, okay, I'm going to come here and be like, who are the type of people you serve? And what is your product? And yeah, if I meet anybody who needs those things, I'll recommend you. You didn't even learn anything about me to give you a reason to recommend me, right? Like,
exactly.
That one confuses me all the time, right? Like, why? You don't know that I'm good at what I do. You don't know that I even have any background in helping people with that thing, right? You don't know how much I care about the topic. You don't know how much, whether I care about Gold Star service or any of those things. Like, you don't know. That's transactional networking. Who cares, right? It's a huge waste of time. When I have the opportunity to meet another human I was in a coffee chat the other day and we were talking about love and the like how love is missing from the corporate work environment because nobody
Mm,
tries to create love because love is only for romantic partners. Well, that's dumb.
mm,
It's one very small, narrow view of love. And
sure.
yeah, we'll never love our coworkers if we're not allowed to love our coworkers, right? But then we
Right.
also won't be connected to them. So then, I mean, this was my experience, and I'm sure a lot of other people have experienced this. You leave a job and nobody talks to you again.
Yeah.
Like, they don't reach out to see how you are, right? Like I left my last job because I was like, I need to spend more time with my son, and you guys won't give me the flexibility to do that. So
Mm,
I need to leave. And I ended up creating my own business. But nobody has just asked me how that's going. Nobody is like I'm connected to all of them on LinkedIn. Nobody's reached out and been like, "Hey, I've seen you on all of these lives. That's so awesome
wow.
that you're doing so great," right? Like, no one cares because that's not facilitated. It's not curated
Yeah.
in that environment. And to some degree, that's my fault because at that time I didn't know that I could even do that.
Mm,
So as an individual, there's always some you can do, but if the culture is very competitive and undercutting and selling people out and energy vampires, right? Like
mhm.
you as one person can't change the culture of an organization. The culture of an organization by default, culture of anything really is a combination of all the parts of the whole. And you are
Right.
only one. So unless the rest of the parts of the whole are willing to change or to look at things different or be growth minded or I don't know, a variety of things, but you can't change that. But there are spaces again, and I think this is one of the unique things about your business peeps is it is about doesn't matter how long I've known you. Jeremy, how long have we known each other? Like 45
Almost
days, 2
2 months,
months?
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Almost 2 months coming up to
and
that.
and so like you can build a really tight relationship in 2 months
Sure.
and you can build a really loose relationship in 10 years, right?
Sure.
It's about the intention and the level of connection that is allowable. And when we create more connection, that's related to love. Like I love my peeps. If something hurts them, it hurts me.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned crying, right? We cry joyful tears together. We
Yeah.
cry sad tears together, right? Like this is
Mhm.
what we do. This is what peeps do. Right?
It's
And again,
incredible.
all of when you have all of those people together in one space, it's kind of amazing. Um, the light that it can shine. Tara
Mhm.
often uses the mirror. Like I'm
Mm,
a mirror. I'm here to reflect your
mm,
brilliance, right?
right.
And sometimes we can't see that for ourselves. And when someone there is to reflect it, you're just like, oh yeah, okay, I got
So true.
this.
And believe it or not, like, and I'm talking to the audience, but believe it or not, that Tracy and I, Tara and I, and us all together, we know each other for coming up to 2 months now, and I don't believe once I've asked Tracy or Tara what they do, or vice versa, or anything like that. It was purely just to get to know them as humans, as people. Um, do we ever want to at some point collaborate or something? Maybe, maybe or whatever. But now knowing that Tracy does marketing, like that's actually a new one to me here in the show. It's like, hey Tracy, we should get together and learn more about marketing. But it's actually now I want to know more about what you do because I know so much about Tracy as an individual that now I'm actually curious to find out what ticks Tracy, like what makes her move, what is it, but
Mhm.
it was really these last 2 months were more just getting to know another human being, meeting awesome people, meeting like celebrating one another, like just being human. It doesn't have to be. I think I read a stat where it says within the first 30 seconds, expect to be asked what you do. And
Mhm.
I like actively like work on myself to not do that.
Mhm.
I want to get to know Tracy, or I want to get to know Tara, or I want to get to know whoever I'm getting to know. I want to get to know them first. And then it's like, okay, let's talk about everything else and let's see, value and all that other nice stuff that everybody loves to throw around on LinkedIn. But the point is, it's
Well,
really that authentic connection, like exactly like you were saying.
right. And it's the thing that keeps you coming back, right? Like, it's the reason why you would explore a collaboration. Like, I'm not going to explore a collaboration with somebody I don't know anything about, right? My brand and how I'm perceived is very important to me, and like me being authentic. And I'm not going to partner with somebody just like, you might have a product or a service that aligns really well with me, but I don't know who you are and why you do that and how passionate you are about it. I'm not going to invite you to be on my LinkedIn live. I'm not going to collaborate with you on a workshop. I'm not going to do any of that. And so if you can't invest, I'm like the worst. Tara's like this too. But like, we'll have a 30-minute coffee chat, and then with like 5 minutes left, I'm like, oh, okay, so we should probably talk a little bit about business so we know whether or not we want to have another conversation. But that's the point of, now do we want to have another conversation, right? And it's not, I would say this, I have done a lot of work in focusing who I have conversations with. And I want to have conversations with people who are interesting, who are different than me, who aren't afraid to share parts of their story, not all of their story. Also, you guys, you don't have to share any part of your story you don't want to share, right? Like, you don't want to talk about miscarriage. Don't talk about miscarriage just because Tracy does, right? Like, this part of my journey I feel comfortable talking about. You don't have to do that. Whatever you feel comfortable talking about. But I want to talk. I want to have a real conversation with a person. I don't want to gossip. I don't want to talk about things or people. I want to talk about life. I want to talk about the hard things. I want to talk about the real things. And the people who aren't interested in having those conversations don't end up partnering with me. And that's fine. And it also doesn't mean, again, it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. If that's not something you want to talk about and you want to implement your transactional networking and it's worked well for you for years, like, go and do that. Just don't hang out with the transformational networking people, because they're going to force you to talk about things you don't want to talk about. It's about finding your space. Yeah. It's about finding your space and then finding your people that make you feel safe and seen and heard.
Love it. Alrighty, so we're slightly over time, but there is one question that I don't want to end up like without asking you. I'm just curious if there was a mentor in the world that you were lucky enough to be mentored by. Who would that be and why?
Like, it can be dead or alive, right? They don't have to be alive.
Yeah.
Okay. Walt Disney. So for one, I'm a huge Disney fan, mostly because he was like seriously, for one, Walt Disney, that's a guy's name. I have so many people who come to me being like, what do I choose? A brand name or my name? Or like, Walt Disney World. It would be like saying Tracy Borreson World. It might sound weird to you, but just don't even worry about it. It's a great example on that front. It doesn't matter what you call your business. It can be successful anyway. But he decided that he was going to make magic for people. And through his movies and through his theme parks and wherever, it was always just that the experience is about magic. And it's still, to me, like when I go there, I experience, like when I watched Encanto for the last time over Christmas break, I was like, this feels magical. And that's what a brand experience is. When you decide the feelings that you create for people and you do everything focused on creating that feeling. And I feel like I have a lot of experience in branding, but if I could learn anything from someone else in the arena of branding, it would be Walt Disney.
Wow.
So that's
follow-up question on that one, and then we're going to be ending off on this. Okay. If you're sitting there with a coffee with Walt Disney, what does that actually look like? Like after all the butterflies settled and all that kind of stuff, and you're saying, hey, Walt, question for you. What's that question? Like that one burning question you have for him?
I don't envision it happening as just like question, answer, question, answer. I
Mm.
envision it happening as, so I probably know more Disney history than a lot of people, but there's a Disney park right now called Epcot. And it was, I'm going to get not all the letters right, but it's this prototype community of tomorrow is what it is. So it was creation of a thing from nothing, like just from ideas. And what I would love to do is like participate in that, just like see how that is happening. Because I'm sure there was a bunch of crazy, terrible ideas that happened in there. And they didn't end up making the cut. Or maybe some of them did make the cut and then were canceled later. But that is the thing that I just think that we're missing so much of in society and how we run business and how we do things, is that like, what if we just had space to create? So like I would love to just go into a space with Walt Disney and be like, create, and have those walls, like, you know, those see-through walls with the markers, and you can just like write on them. And like both of us are like running around the room, like adding to each other's ideas. And then we'll like stop in the middle and be like, hey, this is a great, what if, blah. And you're like just building on each other's thoughts and knowledge and experience, and having just like ideas everywhere. I feel like as an entrepreneur, and I do have a lovely business partner, but as an entrepreneur, we don't have that often, especially with somebody who has the creative genius of Walt Disney and a desire to create experience. Like I have desire to create experience. So yeah, incredible. It's less a question, more an experience that we would have together.
Well, I would frame it like that, because I would be like, hey, dude, like, how do I get involved on this? Because I want the experience. So what do I need to do to get in on this? So I get it. Totally love it. Absolutely. You know, Tara, I mean, Tracy, this has been so incredible. And you and Tara, what you guys are creating is just unreal. And it is real, true magic. And clearly, if Walt Disney was your mentor and he would be alive today, he would be very proud of you guys. And, you know, again, I'm just so super grateful, humble that you came on the show. This is a show that is called The Exceptionally Irresistible Show. It really does highlight these incredible individuals. And to the audience, this could highlight you as well. And the reason why we believe that so much is because you all have a fingerprint, and it is upon you to leave that mark on that world that you are creating or that you are doing. This is your opportunity to shine. And we want to be just a fraction of that. And if, you know, you could leverage the networks, and if you could leverage this platform, please reach out to us, and please come join us on this incredible journey. And definitely don't forget to connect to Tracy. In a second, we're going to show how you could connect to us. But first, we want you to connect with Tracy. You know, tlbcoaching.com or Tracy at tlbcoaching.com. She's the woman, if you haven't got that by now, okay? She's the woman you definitely want to hang out with. You want her to be on your side, whether it's for branding, marketing, or even just to be hanging out with her in her Your Business Peeps community. Did I get that right?
Correct. Yep.
Connect with her on that one, because I'm part of that. So, hey, must be awesome.
Two for the price of one, you guys.
There you go. You know,
I love memberships. We have free memberships. So you can just come and be our peep.
Yeah, it's super awesome. I highly recommend it out of experience. And the last thing is exceptionally irresistible at gmail.com is the way you can reach out to us if you want to be highlighted on here and you have a story to share and you are exceptionally irresistible. You are already, but let the world know about it. And we would love to have you on this show. This does wrap it up. We are a little bit over time, but it was super worth it because Tracy is the bomb. She is beyond and beyond. So Tracy, again, thank you so much for, you know, shining the light with us. So it was a pleasure.
Thank you, Yermin, for giving me the opportunity. And I feel by the amount of smiles that are happening today that I have done my job.
You definitely did. Thanks again, guys. See you soon. Bye-bye.